So I knew who he was. I knew who he was about, but he didn't know much about me. But he made a call, and we had a discussion, and it was about an hour. And that's when I joined the party, because he said in a sentence that Thailand needs a structural change, and not just like a small policies where you give out cash and things like that, in order to realize the potential.
Peter, do you want to stay off the stage while Kun Thanathorn speaks?
No, since you have me here, I'll be here.
That's okay. I think we all appreciate that there is a different role for both of them now, and that is explicitly stated. You have a parliamentary faction and you have a movement. And Kun Thanathorn, perhaps you could start by explaining to people here, having lost your party, what you're now going to do with your movement.
ขอบคุณครับคุณโจนาธาน First of all, I would like to thank the management of FCCT for accepting us here tonight, and I would like to thank you all for the attention you have for us as well. I think it is a very interesting time in Thai politics, and I would like to share with you tonight our plan, what we plan to do next, and why we plan it that way. The former Future Forward Party was 508 days old when it was dissolved. The party won 81 members of the parliament after the election, gaining a popular vote of 6.3 million votes. And yet, it was dissolved by the ruling of 7 constitutional court judges on 21st February 2020. The court ruling forces us to evolve. Future Forward Party is a vehicle for people who say enough is enough. For those who know that without the intervention of the unelected, undemocratic forces, militarily or otherwise, Thailand can be a better place, a more equitable society for all. It was a vehicle for those who are ready to fight for democracy, because they know that the future of their children is here and now. The party was dissolved, the vehicle shattered, but the people will continue the journey towards our shared destination. We announce here and again that we will not surrender. It's too soon to cry. It's too soon to give up. As long as the junta rules, the struggle continues. Many parties have been dissolved before us. The establishment, they think that dissolving political parties could destroy oppositions, allowing them a firmer grip of power. We will prove them wrong. We will prove this time is different. This is not the end of the story as they had hoped. For us, it's just the end of chapter 1. Now chapter 2 begins. The court ruling forces us to evolve. As once the leader of the third largest political party in Thailand, I do understand the power, the constraint, and the limitations of a political party. Now I'm no longer a part of any political party. I no longer possess any power to shape laws. But I also no longer have the constraints and the limitations arising from electoral and political party regulations. I can move more freely now. And with that in mind, I have announced the creation of the Future Forward movement soon after the party was dissolved. What is Future Forward movement? Future Forward movement is a network of like-minded people. It's a movement rather than an organization. It is liquid rather than solid. It has no legal entity. We will start with 60,000.
Was here at FCCT. Back in April 2018, I was sitting where that gentleman was sitting there, and it was him that he used the word ideas are stronger than guns, and it was him who spoke about, how democracy sometimes need an occasional disruption to shake up the status quo. And that was his words that shook the fire inside my heart. And it was probably like 6 or 7 months after, I think you called me in December, huh? So it was April that I listened to him, so I knew who he was. I knew who he was about, but he didn't know much about me, but he made a call and we had a discussion and it was about an hour. And that's when I joined the party, because he said in a sentence that Thailand needs a structural change and not just like a small policies where you give out cash and things like that in order to realize the potential of Thailand. And it's quite ironic that I'm sitting here next to him a year later. I think let me address the big question, the elephant in the room. The question is probably what next for the remaining 55 MPs. The short answer to that is fighting forward. We're still pretty much solidified together in our ideologies, in our plans, in our strategies, in our policies. We still aspire to take Thailand toward a meaningful, functional democracy with a fair economic system. We aspire to make Thai people equal and bring the country together to face many challenges that define our generation. A rise in extreme inequality, the retreat in democracy, and a specter of a warming global planet. As a representative of the remaining 55 MPs, the values of our new party will be defined not just by our words, but also by our actions. There were 5 bills that our previous party has submitted, and our new party will submit and will continue in the parliament. First, a bill to cancel 17 orders of the military juntas. Second, a labor protection bill that expand maternity leave and increase minimum wage along the CPI. Third, a bill to end military conscription, which we will believe it will modernize our military into an effective fighting force that is equal to the threat of the 21st century. Fourth, a bill to end monopoly over liquor industry, in which I am the person in charge, to end monopolization of liquor and to realize the quality and the value of communal and the spirit of Thailand, to make sure that the world smell the Thai spirit. Fifth, our next endeavor, which I am also the person in charge, is the Clean Air Act, the Clean Air Bill that will solve pollution, including PM 2.5 crisis once and for all, like our other countries, our friends here, like our neighbor here in Singapore. Meanwhile, the parliament is in recess. We still have many committees in the parliament in which our party presides over. We are pushing an agenda to end legal but inhumane forest eviction cases across the country. Do you know that there's 80,000 cases of people with land justice issues that's second to drug trafficking here in Thailand? Just people fighting for their right to live, pretty much, a place for them to live, and that becomes quite an inhumane eviction cases across the country, and that needs to stop. Fight for the rights of local and indigenous communities over natural resources and industrial and mining practices that polluted our country. Protect human rights and freedom of expression to ensure that protesters and students, younger generations, the future is theirs, that they can participate in political process without facing retribution. I think we need to confirm that the right to assembly, peaceful assembly especially, is part of an effective participation in democracy. Going forward now, our new party is going to, once it's established, is going to set up working groups to tackle many challenges that the country is facing, and the government is lacking in terms of their response. These include the drought crisis, which is probably the worst in the past 50 years, COVID-19 outbreak, which is part of the concerns of the entire international community here, the student protest flash mobs that have sprung up across the country, and PM 2.5 pollution crisis, and economic problems. Not yet a recession, but it's a problem for a lot of people here in Thailand. All in all, our party aims to be the voice of the voiceless, the hope of the hopeless in this society. Our brand, to some people, they might call us progressive, they might call us center-left, but our propositions are driven more by common sense than by any political leaning. It is a common sense there should not be any legal legacy or the junta in a democratic society. It is a common sense that the minimum wage should earn enough to make a living of yourself, of your family, of your parents. It is a common sense that the richest man in this country should not be in business competition with the farmers who make $1,500 a year. We believe that our country should return to these common senses in order to make our people equal and bring the country together to face the challenges of our generation. Thank you. That concludes my talk for the time being.
Thank you very much, both of you. I mean, that's quite a divergent strategy. There are going to be a lot of questions tonight, and I want to encourage all of you who've got questions to get a chance to put them there. I can't even see the microphone at the moment. Julian's found it. Just before I do that, can you explain, either of you, what the relationship between the party in Parliament and the movement is going to be? This is something that's complicated. Other movements
in one sentence, shared ideology, different paths, different mechanisms, and absolutely no influence over one another.
You heard it here. Marwan, I'll let you ask the first question.
Yeah, hi. Marwan Markenmark of Nikkei Asian Review. I mean, one of the inspirations for your party was Podemos in Spain, or you seem to have drawn inspiration from them. But that kind of ideology was possible in a country or in a region that respects democratic culture. As you've explained, the problem in Thailand is that democracy is seen as something antithetical to the establishment. So while, yes, you're going to challenge the white knights, how do you get the Thai public to accept that actually democracy is the better alternative to a military regime? Thank you.
I couldn't hear properly, but your question was about possibility. I heard the word possibility.
May I repeat that? Basically, I mean, your party drew inspiration from the Spanish party Podemos when you started. I think your Ajahn Piabut mentioned that some time ago when he was explaining foundations. I mean, these parties in Thailand, you're up against a system that basically is hostile towards democracy. So while you're presenting new ideas, how do you convince the greater public that democracy is actually the solution to get over the logjam in Thai politics? Thanks.
Yeah, but the question is, I think as of now, I think the public is convinced. What you've seen in the past 2 or 3 weeks from the newer generation is starting to move towards provinces and moving towards labor, that they're demanding change and they're demanding participation within every part of the society. I think my role and responsibility to make it possible, to your question, is to make sure that we stand for ideas and values to make Parliament does what it's supposed to do. And I think there's a couple of things that the Parliament is supposed to do. First is to represent their electorates, represent the people. I visit them, I listen to their problems, and I speak on their behalf. Second, obviously, Parliament make laws, and obviously I explain to you what our 5 laws were about. Some are political, some are social, some are economic, and the third one is to keep the government accountable and we tried our best during the no confidence vote. Yes, we have prepared, 3-4 months before the dissolution on the 21st, and just me taking care of macroeconomic situation. I was the first to speak for the party, and there's remaining 10 or 12 of my colleagues who, to me, I think they did the job perfectly, given the circumstance, given the situation, given 3 day notice pretty much before they had to do their job inside the parliament, and 3 of them outside of the parliament. So I'm very proud of them, and 2 of them are right here with me, Kun Pichan and Kun Sirikanya, the remaining MPs that are here to support us. And outside the parliament, it's
just
Kun Panika
one
as
point
well.
that Marwan was making there, which I think is a valid one, which is that politicians have been successfully demonized here in Thailand as corrupt and hopeless, and parliament, in a way, people view parliament as optional, and the essential power resides, of course, with the palace, but with people underneath them. And how do you build up people's respect for parliament and for democracy as the method by which you govern, when for so long they've been told that this is just where people take bribes and make money?
My argument is that kind of old politics happened for the past 2 decades, for 20 years. And the newer generation who are graduating from college have experiences, some of them, and they use the word slippery slope argument. They're starting to see that it's a slippery slope, that once you try to consult an outside power or outside policies, or talking about in Thai is pita tipatai, in English is paternalism, meaning you're not solving the problems by yourself, and you're always looking for higher power, someone who's more paternalistic to solve the problems for you. So I think, yes, there's a chance that we might not succeed, but as long as we're not giving up, then there's hope, and the newer generation will keep coming up, and that's part of change. It's not a straight line. It's going to be a zig and zag, and that's how democracy is. And I've traveled to various places through my life. I've been to Cuba. I've been to places where democracy is not a choice, and I've seen how the difference is with my own eyes, and I'm sure the newer generation will start to see it. Even older generation who have been in colors, who have been in opposing colors, are now joining us for a cause. It's no longer about left or right. It's about 1% and 99%. So polarization, bipartisanship, these are the kind of words that are being introduced in Thailand, where it was introduced in your country back many decades ago. So I still have hope.
Thank you. Next question, please, Pierre.
Hi, Pierre from the States Times. My question is a bit technical. Since the party was dissolved over the technical issue of the loan, so I'm wondering how the new party will be funded from now on. Will it be relying on loans? Will it still function from the remnants of the loans from Kun Thanathorn before? And will the scale of the functions of the new party be limited or be lessened in a way because of this 10 million baht cap? Thank you.
No more loans. And
I lend him my watches.
And no watches either. No more loans and no watches either. We'll be the party of the people. We'll do a lot of online fundraising. We'll do a lot of on-ground fundraising. We'll keep it to the cap. We'll talk to a lot of SMEs who are affected, who wants to change the country. Obviously, it will be a leaner party, so we'll keep that in mind. It's pretty clear that even we took out the loan, but because of merchandising and online fundraising, how it's done in the West, when it comes to campaign financing, we were able to pay back the loan. So we'll take it as a goal. We understand now that politics, you need to be solid. It's more like a marathon and not like a sprint. But it's a smaller party, but the quality is not going to drop. So that's how we're going to keep moving.
Do we have another question? Don't be shy. Thank you, Gwen. Everyone's worried about the fact that you actually mentioned the loan while you were here at the club.
Yeah, I could have just yelled it over there. Actually, I was interested in both your perspectives from the perspective of a movement and political party. Both of you talk about like being inclusive and reaching out across society and different colours can join. But what is the strategy? It's clear that some of the other opposition parties like Pheu Thai are, searching also for new directions, and election results did show some trends, including some disillusion with some of the traditional opposition parties. So what I wonder if each of you, Kun Thanathorn and Kun Peter, could talk about in the grassroots and people's movement outside of Parliament, how you would propose to draw all these people who were so loyal to initially Thaksin and then broadly Pheu Thai, as well as other parts of the political spectrum, and also Kun Peter in the parliamentary context as well. Maybe each of you could give a perspective on that.
I have an issue with the echo, but your question was about grassroots movement, correct?
Sorry, is this better if I say this
Okay.
like this? I was asking about, you talked about how it's open to all colours,
All
and
colours,
joining
yes.
together
Yes.
and reaching out to all across society, right? But I'm just asking in the light of some of the voting patterns we saw, and also that Pheu Thai had a very loyal following, but now we saw quite a shift in the last election. But how do you propose to actually reach out? Do you envisage a coalition in Parliament? Because I think one of the main problems up to now is that there has been an opposition that's very segmented. I mean, clearly, particularly, do you envisage reaching out to Democrats? You've lost some MPs already to Bumjai Thai. I mean, how do you propose to bridge these gaps? And also, Kun Thanathorn, in the people's movement out there, there's a lot of very loyal Pheu Thai supporters. How do you reach out to them? Or in fact, Democrats, look at the voting patterns in the South. The Democrats had a lot of support amongst ordinary people in the South. Do you think that you can cobble together a grand coalition? That's the only way, surely, to become a huge political force.
Well, I don't want to talk about the issues of political parties. Last year I was here talking about the loan I gave to the party, and my party was dissolved a year later. And if I talk about anything regarding to his party, maybe next year his party got dissolved. I don't want that to happen, so I let things about political parties to Peter. Let me talk a little bit about the movement we are trying to build from now. I think I think what we want to do is we want to focus in local elections. I don't know how much you know about local politics in Thailand, but local administrations in Thailand do not function very well, and we want to change that. We want to. The question earlier was, how do we make people understand the importance of democracy? I think it's interrelated with this question, and that democracy is about the quality of lives, the quality of your schools, the quality of your hospitals, the quality of your healthcare system, how the government spend your money. And by doing local politics, entering local politics, it's closer to them, it's much closer to them, In the parliament, what you do is you basically passing bills, passing laws, which is very far to the everyday lives of the ordinary people. But local politics is about the quality of your streets, the quality of the light, the quality of the school next door, So, and that's the reason why we want to do local politics. We want to prove them that good politics give them better quality of lives. And that's why we want to focus there. And that's what we're going to do. So when we talk about doing local politics, it's about building a movement as well as walking the talk, show the people what we are able to do, So that I think goes hand in hand, local politics and building the grassroots movement. You know, let me add one point here. In local politics, there's never been a debate about, say, city of Chiang Mai. In the election of the president of the provincial administration, I take Chiang Mai for example because I think all of you know Chiang Mai. In the past, in the history, no president of Chiang Mai provincial administration ever come to a debate and to show their vision what Chiang Mai could look like 10 years from now or 20 years from now. What Chiang Mai is capable of. So this time we want to make it different. We want the local politicians to play our game, the game of solid policy, the game of constructive policies. And if we force them to play our game, we win the election, we lose the election, we win. The people win. So we make them coming, stop, we force them by installing more competition into local politics so that they stop, so that money will not the most effective means to win the election. We want the people to understand this, and this is one of our core missions.
Is that, do you mean you're actually going to be
Sending candidates.
trying to hold people accountable or doing civic education? Because you're a movement, you can't take part in elections.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah.
but I can help campaign for the candidates who we believe they shared
And they
the
could be from any
common
party,
ideologies.
From any party.
Hmm?
If that could be from any party if you think the candidate's good.
It will be from the Future Forward movement. I cannot run. Definitely, I cannot run.
As for myself, let me address your question by breaking it down. When you talked about Pheu Thai Party and you talked about the unity of opposition party, 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, myself, Kun Vichan, Kun Siri Kanya, all the MPs, Kun Thanathorn had a chance to hold dinner together with the leaders of all the opposing parties, and I tried to convince them. I asked for a strong, one unified light of democracy. I mean, there were lessons that we needed to learn, but it's a unity of the opposing party that the people really, really requires. And I think we had a glitch in our long road, but we have made an understanding, and going forward we'll be communicating more to make sure that it's a stronger, unified opposition party when the parliament starts again. Second part of the question was about grassroots movements and polarization of politics, the opposing colors, and how we were planning to depolarize and stop these color game. A lot of times, from my own experience, when we talk about social needs instead of political leaning, we talk about land justice, we talk about marijuana legalization. And yes, when we talk about environmental issues, it doesn't matter what color you come from. In the past 2 decades, it affects you. Marijuana legalization, for example, when we were trying to push, there were people from the yellow side who came and tried to push this social need because there's a need for them to fix their health that the modern medicine couldn't help them. On the other hand, the people on the red side 10 years ago, they also had cancer, and they also wanted to find an alternative way to fix things. So because of these policies that are based on social needs and not just about the past, that's how we bring people together. And I think I walked 20 kilometers as a rally together with all colors in the past together, and we were talking about how we have to push this and make a change as an alternative for people who have no other alternatives. I have epilepsy. I'm epileptic, so it's been, I think it was my time 20 years ago in Texas that I had a chance to try medical marijuana where Tegretol, the modern medicine, couldn't help me, so I knew what it's like when you need something that is an alternative to modern medicine, and people from both sides also have these experiences that are similarity to move forward in a new direction. The third part was about coalition of politicians. We've never thought about that, but we've thought about coalition of people. We've thought about coalition with the people who have the need for strong public health, for equal economics, for a better schooling system and things like that. So we are not afraid to reach out to those people who might be visibly opposing to our party. We're not afraid to listen. I mean, talking is important, but listening is even more important, especially if they don't agree with you.
Thanks very much.
และมีจุดเด่นกว่านั้นคือไม่เคยคุยโตโอ้อวดทำงานก็ไม่ชอบเอาหน้า